Doing this one on request. As you can see, this comment from Need New Job. Hopefully, you get one. Hey, have you seen the reports about the WNBA players being offered 4 times what their salary is now? And they said no. I've seen 2 different stories about this. Can you do a vid and tell us what you think? Sure. This is the video telling you what I think. As far as the story itself, I think it's a little bit more complex than what is being shared online, because what I saw yesterday online was an article from, or not an article, a previous quote from Satu Sabali shared by an account called Brick Center, which is kind of an engagement account. You know, that they post stuff that they know is going to get a bunch of engagement online. And their post said WNBA players rejected a deal that would have paid them 4 times their current salaries. Deal was a slap in the face, and used this Satu Sabali quote.
I think we can focus on our players in the union. We got a proposal from the league, which was honestly a slap in the face, and I think we really have to put an emphasis on the players that are in our league right now. But I love to see the league growing. I think adding these teams in Philly and Detroit, like that's how amazing is that the league can grow. But how cool would it also be to have like a little bit expansion on the rosters. Like, let's focus on the teams that have everything set up right now, and maybe focus on the teams also that find excuses continuously to lack investment into their players before we focus on adding more to the grain of people that can't really be sustained.
So that was what Sabali had to say. Now, those quotes from Satu Sabali were from July 1st, I believe. Certainly the beginning of July. So you got to make sure that that context is stated. July 1st, I believe, is when those were made, but at the very beginning of July. And the 4 times number, that comes from an ESPN article that was published in August. So about a month later, this article was published on August 6th. So I don't know if what Satu Sabali was referring to is what is in this article or not. Plus, by the way, there are a lot of different things that go into a CBA and what the actual deal is. So you have to take that into consideration, and the context, because it's very easy to just say, okay, that the deal was a slap in the face. They're getting 4 times the money. But really what that account did was take a a bit from Sabali and attach it to some other news and make it as if they were directly correlated, and what she was saying was in response to that. Now, here's the article that says that the players are still adamant that we get a percentage of revenue that grows with the business, which perhaps includes team revenue, and that's just a part of the conversation. That's from Neka Agumake. And per Agumake, the WNBA's latest offer to its players, while dramatically increasing the salary cap and maximum base salaries, which a league source suggested could quadruple to at least $1 million from their current $249,244, follows the same model as the current CBA. It's basically the same system that we exist in right now. So what does that mean? That means that the max salaries, which isn't every player, by the way, so I don't know if 4 times goes for every player, like across the board, everybody's getting a 4 times increase, a 4x increase, which would be good, by the way. I think in any business for any employee, but the way that's worded is maximum salaries, so the players who make the most. And then secondly, the other aspect of it is the revenue sharing. And when you heard Nafisa Collier and even Caitlin Clark talk about this over All-Star Weekend, there were 2 points that were brought up over and over. Salary going up, which would be the case here. But the other is revenue split, a bigger share of the revenue pie. And so if the revenue increases, the players don't want to be set at the same percentage that they're currently set at now. They want that percentage to raise as well. That's where the NBA comparisons have come in, when it's not that the WNBA players are fighting for the same salaries that NBA players are making. That's, would be a ridiculous position given the relative, finances of the league and the money that has come in. But what they are asking for, or at least what has been made clear, is a revenue cut that is more similar to that of the NBA players. Bottom line is, so much of this stuff is going to be posturing and negotiating. And you can't just take one statement or one comment as face value and just run with it. By the way, Satu Sabali, I have no idea if her comment was in direct correlation or in reaction to the offer that Ogumike stated, because it was a month later, after All-Star break and all that. They had the meetings over All-Star. So they may not be related at all, her response to that offer. Second, Satu Sabali does not speak for all players. So when she says slap in the face, that is her words, not necessarily what everyone is saying. But in any negotiation like this, you're going to see the players and the owners or the league dig into their positions and posture. So the players, what is their big threat? Their big threat is they're not going to play, right? Or like, we're not going to accept this, which would then lead to a lockout, not a strike, but a lockout technically, because the CBA would be over. That's their biggest piece of leverage because they are the product. And then they did the shirts for awareness or whatever. The league can almost always wait the players out. But I've seen a lot of these before, and sometimes it does get to the point of a work stoppage. I've been through NBA lockouts. The Major League Baseball had a notable strike. So sometimes it does happen. The vast majority of times it gets worked out. And in this case, I expect it to get worked out because I have to believe both parties are aware enough of what a momentum killer would be to dead what is going on with the league right now. And until, you start approaching deadline time, you're going to see extreme positions taken or public negotiating, which sometimes can be the case. But Kathy Engelbert at All-Star Weekend, she didn't seem that concerned about it, to be quite honest with you, in her press conference. And she also talked about how the timeline can move a little bit, like that they have a little bit more time as long as they're not running into the actual draft when the college season is over. So that goes to show you some runway. I mean, it'll be ugly out in the press or where public statements are made. I also heard behind the scenes that there has been more progress than has been made public, which is also oftentimes going to be the case. So I don't know how all the T's will get crossed and all the I's will get dotted. But I do believe that the WNBA players will walk away from this with a significant raise and a better cut of the revenue share. Where that lands remains to be seen. But I don't think it's as simple as they were offered 4 times as much and then they just walked away and threw the table on the floor. It's very easy to get negative engagement rage bait around the WNBA. Very, very easy. So you also have to caution yourself for that. But let's let it play out when it comes to the pay.